The Children's Parliament on Wednesday touched on a number of issues still affecting children countrywide today. These young parliamentarians took the seat where elected policymakers would sit during a house sitting. They were tasked in representing the children of Belize and bringing to the forefront issues in areas such as education, health and safety and protection. On the topic of child labor, this young parliamentarian pointed out about 76% of working children live in rural areas.
More than a quarter of employed children work over 45 hours per week. Almost a quarter of these children that are employed live in Kaya, and 23% live in Corozal. About 4% of children are both working and attending school, Mr. Speaker. Their academic performance is affected by child labor very much. Furthermore, they become vulnerable to pedophiles and others who want to harm, as my fellow colleague from Orange Wall East said. They become vulnerable when they're out trying to sell their merchandise in the community, sir.
The scenario that was described is real and continues to occur to this day. Many of us have seen children working on the streets exposed to predators, but those predators are sometimes found in the houses.
And we have seen too often, too many cases of child abuse and their impact in our country in the news. Take the case, Mr. Speaker, reported in December 14, 2015, Channel 5 newscast of the 17-year-old who sexually assaulted his 3 young relatives. Or take the case, Mr. Speaker, reported in the Amandala newspaper in February 2014 of the 15-year-old boy who sexually assaulted his 3-year-old neighbor. And very recently reported on Love FM in October 2019, the case of the 14-year-old who sexually abused a 7-year-old. I have no doubt, Mr. Speaker, that these minors who committed these terrible acts were themselves abused. These heart-wrenching cases of child abuse then, Mr. Speaker, speak to the graphic way in which child abuse negatively impacts the victim, the abusers, and again, in the process, causes the country to lose the future scientists, entrepreneurs, athletes, educators, actors.
The Children's Parliament was a call by the children of Belize to the government to enhance the enforcement of the right of a child, as was promised when Belize ratified the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of a Child 30 years ago.
Mr. Speaker, Article 6, Section 1 and 2 of the CRC states that all children have the right to life and that the government should ensure that all children survive and develop healthy. Also, Article 3 states that all organizations concerned with children should work towards what is best for each child. However, studies from UNICEF showed that only 8% of the world's children are fully protected by children's rights. There are numerous crimes occurring in our tiny country. In Belize City alone, this year, Southside recorded 24 murders and Northside with 15 murders in months of January leading up to October. As my colleague mentioned a moment ago, whenever a crime occurs, police officers pick on those that fit their criteria based on their appearance or neighborhood history. This is racial profiling and being stereotypical, Mr. Speaker.
In other words, those who are entrusted to uphold the law break it.
We should feel secure in the presence of our police officers and not the fear of being injured or our rights being infringed by the very same people who are meant to uphold them. Over the years, police officers have had violent encounters with the community, where they have aggressively gone into neighborhoods to seek out those who are allegedly criminals in an unacceptable and inhumane manner. Do you think it is right, Madam Speaker, for our children to witness and to be exposed to these traumatic events taking place between parents, relatives, friends, and our very own police officers? Instead of breaking the chains of violence, these repeated negative behaviors by some police officers have resulted in our youths losing the trust and confidence in those in authority.
Reporting for News 5, Hipolito Novelo.